everybody, welcome back to a midweek recap on the markets. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on and talk about some of the trades that I'm currently looking at in the Forex market. Things are really heating up this week, and we actually see the dollar coming down pretty aggressively. I wanted to discuss this and a couple other select currency pairs that I am currently looking at in terms of trade setups, so stick around. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, taking a look at the dollar. So we're looking at the DXY here, and the dollar actually seems to have found a topping point. So it does actually seem like short-term that the dollar may have a little bit of sell pressure. We're looking at the daily chart, of course, but I think that there's probably some natural pull looking at the dollar to levels like 97. You can actually see if we draw fibs from this swing low here, that there's a nice little lineup right around that 50% to the 61.8% retracement, where you can actually see previous levels of resistance may come back into play. In my personal opinion, trading the dollar up in this region adds more risk than necessary. Now, I say that I do actually have a dollar yen position open, but it's a little bit less exposed. It's more focused on the yen. Regardless, though, we'll talk about that in just a moment. I personally think that the dollar, in terms of buying it, until we start getting down into this area of support that I just highlighted, I think that there's extra risk that you may not need to take on the dollar. Like I said, I think short term that the dollar may have more room to come back down to levels like this 50% retracement, and also this idea of the 61.8% retracement before there is some ideas of potential long side action. I think that the risk reward starts becoming a lot more attractive once you get down to these levels, thinking about returns to the highs and continuations overall on this upward trend that we've seen recently on the US dollar. So that's my personal take, as I think that right now, like I said, I think there's more risk than needed when it comes to the US dollar in terms of long setups around here. Though as we poke into these pullbacks, I think you start getting some really attractive buy zones. Now, of course, as always, this is my personal opinion. I'm going to go through a couple of trades that I'm currently looking at, one trade that I'm open in right now, and we'll go from there. The next one, of course, we're not going to be trading DXY, but we will take a look at individual currency pairs, such as the euro dollar. Taking a look at the daily chart, and now here's the 4-hour view. Right now, we're seeing this play out. We are seeing short-term strength come into the euro dollar. So for those of you guys who are euro bulls, there is seemingly a little relief coming in to the euro pairs. Now, of course, we're talking about the dollar here specifically, but take a look at some other pairs. You've got EURUSD making a move higher. You've got EURCHF, euro yen. We're seeing the euro pairs bounce back a little bit here from those massive sell-off points that we saw. And this is, of course, a good highlight of why chasing is a really dangerous game to play. Again, if you were selling down here, it looked good for a little while, but now this reversal, this bear market rally seems very aggressive for some euro pairs. Back to EURUSD, take a look at this with me, and I do like the idea of still shorting the euro dollar, but I think that the best idea here for me is waiting until we start getting into a little bit more of a premium sell zone, which I have marked at the 50% retracement right around 1.1150. This is a zone that I'm personally watching for trade setups on the euro dollar. I've been trading the euro recently. We caught a sell right around this area, sold 66,000 units, covered after we saw a little bit of signs of strength. Unfortunately missed some of this move, but here's the cool thing about markets, that the market continues rolling on, and there may be some opportunities to try and catch this pullback for the next wave lower should we see it continue. Of course, this is not a guarantee. We could see a total full-blown reversal, but for the time being, my bias remains bearish until further notice, until the market tells us not to be bearish anymore, right? So for me, what that kind of looks like is the idea of short position setups once we start reaching those areas. If you're a little bit longer term, you've got this idea. This is a bigger pip distance. That's around 130 pips risk, with the idea being a stop above this structure point. But if you wanted to tighten it up and get things a little bit more granular, as we do poke into this level, I may tighten a stop if I do decide to take a trade. You know, something in the range of, I usually go for, on the euro dollar, somewhere around 50 to 60 to 70 pips on this. So it just kind of depends when the trade does come up into play. Now, of course, as this market does pull back, we'll be looking for some signs of weakness, and if I do take a trade, it will be shared inside of our private Discord channel. If you're not already in our Discord channel, every trade that I take, which we'll talk about dollar yen here in just a second, every trade that I take gets shared with a full breakdown, and more importantly, why I take the trade. So I share the entries. So I've got this dollar yen trade. We'll take a look at that in just a second, but I enter the entry, the stop loss placement, how many pips I'm risking, why I'm taking the trade, the understanding of why the technicals make sense, why the fundamentals make sense. And I also include, you know, a picture of my analysis. So if this is something that would be helpful to you, if you'd like to get these notifications to your phone or to your desktop, make sure to sign up with our VIP group down below in the description. There's a subscriber discount if you punch that in. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot a message to Drew. His link will will be popping up on the screen right now, aka also you can find it in the description down below. So shoot him a message if you have any questions. You can see my trades, Frank's trades, Patrick's, Ennie's, Ivan's. We have several traders on our team here. We also have a chat room available so you can chat with other traders, and you can jump in our coaching webinars and ask your questions there. So tons of value. If you're not already in the Discord, check it out. Link is down below in the description. So euro dollar is one hot on my watch list. We'll take a look at my trade that I just mentioned. So this is a trade that I did call out inside of our VIP group. I'm currently sitting in this trade. This is real trade, real money, no nonsense. A lot of times you'll see, demo profits. So I know that $800 is not $5 grand that you might see on Instagram and stuff like that. But a lot of those traders, I'm just going to say this, a lot of times those traders are not using real money. They're not really showing real trades, and they're just showing you the highlights of their demo account. We're not trying to do anything like that inside of my content or anything like that. Trying to keep it real. These are real trades. These are real setups that I am personally taking in the markets. So right now I have a long trade open on the dollar yen. And you'll actually notice that this trade alert that I sent, so I had this idea when I even marked this up. I had the idea of target 1, 2, and 3, and I'll explain this, and then we'll talk about where I think the dollar yen is going next. But I ended up taking this trade with the idea here that, okay, we have a pullback to support. Things are looking good here at this 1 hour level. And then I also took it on the 4 hour chart. So I looked at both levels, put a stop below structure, and now have been able to get to a point where I've updated members on this trade. We're floating a pretty good winner here on the dollar yen. And from here on out, it's just a matter of letting this stop loss run in terms of trailing this stop. So where we currently sit, we've got the dollar yen finding that entry at support price, rallied from that level, and very quickly hit target number 1, which is marked here in this green dashed line. This level was the start of the order block sell-off that we saw here last week on Friday. So I was thinking if we do find support here, we likely will head back up to that level. We did find a move up to that level. And then my next spot was this level here. So if I zoom out, the target number 2, right around 115.75. We actually tagged that number and have held that since. Now my stop loss has also followed behind price, so I'm not using a strict target, but these targets are places where I will start moving my stop loss into profit. Now finally, I'm looking to see if we can get a move back up to this previous high right around this 116.20 level. I will start looking for a more aggressive stop loss move. So I'll be trying to trail the stop more aggressively once we start clearing this area. And right now specifically, I'm looking to see if price can hold this. So if you're looking at dollar yen right now, we had a beautiful sign of some strength here at this level. You can kind of see I've marked this zone in silver or gray, where basically we broke out here, right? So we broke out, retested, and we're still trying to. We'll see if this can hold as a supportive level, but if it does, I think it's very likely going to head back on up to that final target. So that's why I'm still in the trade, still giving it room to run, but we'll see how price action determines whether or not this thing can hold or not. But again, I like the dollar long. If you would like one more time, you can pause the video if you'd like to see the original reasoning behind the trade. I'll pull it up on the screen. Feel free to read at your own leisure on the dollar yen trade that I took if you would like to see the reasoning why. I shared it all here inside of the group. So again, one more time, if you have any interest in joining the group, the link is down below in the description. With that said, let's continue on. We'll take a look now at USDCHF. Not a pair that we look at too often, but perhaps some interesting setups starting to form here on the dollar Swiss franc. We are seeing this thing. We had nice momentum here, nice push to the upside. And when we start marking up this chart, very quickly, you'll see that there are some levels that may be interesting as we start to pull back. So if I draw this fib from the swing low to the swing high, check this out, you guys. This is why we're not usually talking about the dollar Swiss, but this pair looks really interesting for some long side action. So this idea here, kind of a tight stop, but the idea of a really great risk reward, that's a 4-to-1 scenario there. And then I think that you have, the opportunity that if that doesn't work, you've got this 50% zone as well, where things may even get to be a little bit better of a risk reward. But you've got, a couple 4-to-1 sort of trade setups that look interesting to me on the dollar yen now, or sorry, dollar Swiss. Now, of course, this is not a trade that I'm currently in. And if I do take this trade, again, the full breakdown will go inside of the group. But this is a scenario where I could potentially see myself taking a couple stabs at dollar Swiss. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say I take this trade and I do stop out. I may take a second chance entry down there out that 50% retracement zone, as I do like the idea there. It seems like price is really respecting that zone, and this pair definitely looks very interesting to me for possible setups. Taking a look at this pair, Again, it's on my watch list. If I take that trade, it'll go inside of the private Discord. So definitely a pair of interest for me to see if we can get a little bit more pullback before looking for possible long entries here on the 1 hour chart. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at GBPJPY. Now, this is a pair that is very, very... it's very fragile in my book. Again, any heightened fears around the Russia-Ukraine situation probably send this thing lower. And so right now, short-term bias on the pound is bearish. I think that if you do see price retest levels like the 50% retracement, you may have areas where there's some nice premium selling opportunity. Now, of course, it's not a guarantee, and there never is any guarantees. Our goal as traders is always to just go with probabilities and look for setups that, you know, we always have the chance of being wrong, but we want to maximize the opportunity should we be right. So something like this, 50% retracement, downward structure. This is a 4 hour chart setup. Really nice idea here, in my opinion, for a 50% retracement around that 153.10 level. I do like that, and personally think that that's not the worst scenario. Now, of course, this is not my A1 primary setup, but still a pretty sound technical setup in my book here for pound yen. Okay, let's take a look now at gold. So we'll pull up XAUUSD. Of course, very popular topic right now. And I wanted to point out, we are bullish on gold. We've been discussing this, bullish on commodities due to, pressures from Russia and Ukraine. Until further notice, these are buying opportunities in my book. Should we see it pull back to the 61.8, this is very, very attractive in my opinion for possible longs. So if I take that trade, you guys will see it inside of the Discord, but I do like this idea. You've got higher lows overall. You've got nice strength in this market. I do think that until things totally subside with Russia and Ukraine, that the gold market will likely try and float higher. So we'll see if I'm right about that, but that's my personal opinion. So looking for pullbacks to levels like that 1955 level looks really attractive for possible further upside. Now, this actually coincides with another market that we sometimes talk about here on the channel, US oil. So oil also pulling back. We're seeing a little bit of a topping point here, or at least a double top. So you had, one opportunity here where price sold off, but then more importantly, we had a secondary. And let's actually take a look at the RSI, see if there's anything interesting here. So the RSI, depending on if you look at RSI or not, sometimes RSI divergence can be interesting. And we did have a bit of RSI divergence on the oil market. Now, this is not a for sure topping point by any means, but it is something worth noting. We actually saw this on gold as well. We can go back to that in just a second. We saw higher highs, yet lower highs on the RSI. So a little bit of a signal where we may see a bit of return. We may see a bit of retracement here. And so, yes, we do have this level of support, but we also have a little bit more conservative entries. If you're bullish biased on oil, you may see retracements down to levels like 107.5. You do, of course, have this level. So maybe if you're very aggressive on oil, there is that idea. But that's something to be thinking about there for the oil market. Now, check this out, okay? So we go back to gold here for a second, keep this RSI on the screen. You can see a similar signal kind of arose here on the gold market. We saw higher highs here, yet lower highs in the RSI. Now we're seeing a little bit of a pullback. So that may be an early signal that, there may be a short-term, more momentum to the downside there. Maybe we see 1955 come into play. And that's, again, why I'm a bit cautious up here, but more interested should we see 1955 come into play. I think you get a little bit more of a risk-to-reward setup in terms of long side ideas on the gold market. So that's kind of what I'm looking at going forward here. Good risk-to-reward. If I take that trade, like I said, it'll show up in Discord for those of you guys who are members in the VIP group. Let's see. There was one other market that I want to take a look at. That's dollar CAD. So CAD, right? The CAD is a mixed one for me. Now, the weird part is that CAD has been really struggling against some of the other currencies. Despite oil rising dramatically, we have seen CAD yen kind of going sideways. Euro CAD is really rebounding. We've seen a lot of strength come back into the euro, GBP CAD. We're not seeing absolute dominance for the CAD right now. We are seeing still, for example, the dollar is also strong. So dollar CAD is kind of popping to the upside there. But if you're interested in the CAD, this is an interesting one. I am still bullish on CAD. I like the idea of being a buyer, but I've definitely got to see the setups kind of come to me. So for CAD yen, for example, if we look at CAD yen, the idea of, still bearish structure here, right? You still got that 38.2. I really want to see failure from that. I still want to see some signs. I took a couple trades trying to catch this. You can actually see where I stopped out. So I I took a buy on this candle, took another buy after it failed out, and gave up on that pretty quick. And I'm glad that I did because it continued lower. But that was my idea on CAD yen. Still looking for bullish setups, but I want to see some sign of strength before I try again. I'd like to see breakouts, retests, breakouts, that sort of thing, right? Ideas of consistency and ideas of strength coming into the CAD before I try and go buy it again, because right now it does seem quite weak. We can actually take a look at the Canadian dollar currency index. Here's the Canadian dollar CXY. CXY, you can see, still struggling quite a bit. We are seeing a bit of a pop here, so we'll see if that can find some strength. But again, a currency pair or currency that I'm looking for some of the pairs to start cooperating, start setting some ideas up. But anyways, again, that dollar yen trade is the one trade that I'm currently in, floating around $900. We'd love to see if this thing can try and make up to target 3. And of course, for those of you guys who are VIP members, should that trade continue to play out, I will update it further inside of the group as I have been. So check out the group if you haven't already. Link is down below in the description if you want to join the Discord. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot a message to Drew. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you back next time. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching today's video. There are more videos available on our channel here and here, so go ahead and click into that for some more free trading content. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you back next time.